how I spoke about how cancer had just been chasing me via a lot of the women in my family. You guys were holding me during that conversation. We all went through a roller coaster ride of emotions.
Yeah. I'm just so happy because of my intimate moments. And I feel like when I become like a full-time host, my life is going to change. And I don't know if I'm going to be in London, but I know it's going to change. And so I know that I'm always at the short end of the stick when it comes to friendships. And so...
It's because you consider your friends real close. They're your chosen family.
Yeah.
We know, bro. Let it out, man. It's okay.
And so I treasure them because if I don't have them anymore, I understand that it wasn't meant to be, but that's all I have. Mi gente, how are we? Welcome to another episode of The Progressing Male. I'm 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀, your host, and here we are going to tackle all things that men can and shouldn't do, apparently. We're going to challenge cancel culture. We are here for educational reasons, so if we say something out of pocket or you disagree maybe, please sound off in the comments below and help us, teach us. Do not cancel us. Now, you know the show wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be the same without my two main men. 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 to my right.
I'm good.
And 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀 to the left.
Hi, friends.
Thank you so much, boys. Today's one is a bit deep.
Deep?
It's a bit deep, yeah. So today's topic, boys, is where do men go for intimacy? It's a deep one. And I got this quote from 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀, the comedian slash
Love
host.
𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀.
He says, and I quote, "People don't realize how men are experiencing a lack of intimacy. The only place they can experience intimacy is through sex." Yes. We've created a society where men are so afraid to be vulnerable with each other. Am I right?
Yeah.
They're afraid to be sensitive with each other, to care for each other, and more importantly, to love on each other.
Hey.
But Mr. 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀 does not stop there. He then goes on to say, "I hope that we get to a place where we can say, I didn't need the sex. I needed to be held. I live in a society where it's hard to be held unless I'm having sex. Because as guys, you can't just go up to a guy and say, just hold me."
A little bit gay.
I disagree. He then says, or ends, that many sex workers, it's actually been proven in many interviews and statistics, that when men go to see sex workers, the number one thing most people go for is not sex, it's for intimacy, and it's for, listen to me. Let me speak to you. And the parallels actually with gay dating are actually quite scary. So men, let's unpack it.
All right. So it's a deep one.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, when he said it, it's something that I knew, but when you hear it, you're just like, oh no. When I heard this, and I've had this in my file, my progressing male file for a long time, and I'm so glad that we get to do this in season 3 because he said it, and I was like, yeah, I knew all of it, but when he was reading, or when he was speaking to the audience, I was like, oh my goodness.
I've seen that one.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, it was sad because it was so powerful, because there were so many nuances to that. The nuances is like, as a man, a typical man, which society deems as a man, protector, provider, masculine attributes, that swagger. You're providing those pockets, those safe spaces to all the women. But I'm sorry, I don't think it's a gay thing, like you just said, but men want to be held too. They want to be embraced, or they want to show the love languages that is past just acts of service, touch, intimacy, conversations, because we're not having those conversations. You know, the statistics show it. Suicide rates in this country are raising. More communication, guess what? Maybe less rates in the suicide. And so it was right. And I see why you said that's gay, because I don't know if you feel this way, maybe because of my relationship with men in comparison to you guys, but there's nothing quite like an embrace like a man. And I don't mean sexual.
No, I know it's carrying.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like, and you see it more with women, and this is why they go to each other for girly chats or for heartbreaks or for whatever, because it's not just chatting. There's a level of depth and intimacy that's created that creates a safe space or a place where like I'm heard. And men, I don't know, we just can't because of the embarrassment, the lack of vulnerability that we can access, and also because of the complex nature of it, because it could trigger something.
Right.
And so I don't know, it just made me kind of sad. I was like, damn, it makes total sense why modern day dating now is more sex than feeling, because I don't think it's like, oh, it's easy. Yes, it is easy. I'm not taking that away from it. But I think it's because men are craving for attention, and the only way to get that type of intimacy is via sex.
Do you know when you think of the men we know, external from the ones in our circle or our community?
Yes.
Like if I think of my family or like people I went to school with, when I think about the things they do for a social with their friends, it's always like go to the pub, watch a sport, do an activity.
It's an activity.
It's never should we go for dinner?
Can we talk?
It's never just like two people going for dinner. Like whenever I'm in London, if I get the chance to go for dinner with John or you, like we go for dinner. Like we sit and we talk. It's not necessarily, it doesn't always have to be about let's entertain one another. It can be sit and have a conversation. So I do feel like, you know, we're very lucky that we all have those friendships. Whenever we do these, it's kind of like a therapy session. When I leave, I'm like, I've got a lot off my chest today. But actually, when I think of a lot of men that I know, all the social time they have,
it's just company,
or with their partner who's a girl that they probably don't share those feelings with because they want to be the man. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't spend time together where it's just about communicating. It's always an activity or an event.
It's so true. My dad
won't share.
My dad was exactly the same. My dad was one of those dads, and if you have Spaniard fathers, tell me I'm wrong. He would sit in the same, it's not called a cantina, but it'll be like a tapas bar, excuse me, where they'll have the massive screen to watch the sports. He was a football fanatic.
Right.
And same seat. And when I went to visit him, so-and-so was there, blah, blah, blah was there, same positions, nowhere near each other. A nod, maybe they'll buy each other a drink, no conversation, reaction to the football, and that's their version of intimacy.
I was about to say that was their version of intimacy.
But it's so watered down, and that's the norm. But it's kind of like, it's almost like an activity tradition trumps over what your actually need is.
Right.
Because have you gone, had it been, excuse me, that same situation, but I'm sitting next to you whilst I'm watching the match. How are your kids? Whatever. How are you doing? Are you okay? Like, you know what I mean?
It makes it a little bit different.
It's different because you still have your safe pocket, which is that masculine realm.
But now there's a higher level of intimacy being shared
there's
between.
depth, because I think intimacy equates to depth.
I agree.
I don't think you can have intimacy in a surface level. You can imitate it. It can look like it, but I think it's a connection. It's deeper. You have to be willing and able to reach.
You have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and you know what? It's sad because
that's hard for men.
Oh,
that's the issue.
Motherfucker, I can agree with you more. Like for example, my dad.
And I'm not making excuses.
No. This is facts.
It's just facts.
We're terrible at it. As men, we
as a society of men.
It's terrible. Like I think I can count. I mean, my dad, it was, I call him a part-time dad, but he really wasn't. I keep on saying that because I don't know what the word is. But when I did see him, of all the years, of all the shit, he probably said, I love you to me, or we had like a heart-to-heart conversation, maybe four to five times. Like, and that's crazy. And I didn't need it from him. And now that he's not with me, it was a bit like, you know, I'm a very analytical person. And so now that I spend all my days being like, I love my mum and dad, but I don't want to be like them. And now that I'm nearly 40, I'm like, oh my God, the similarities are crazy. Because what I realize is that when you're younger, you pick up things automatically. You pick up things without even knowing, because that's all you're exposed to. So those certain characteristics or coping mechanisms, I had or have like them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A funny story that I tell about my mum. One thing I don't like about my mum, even though it's the cutest thing, is that my mum is the opposite to you, sacrificial type of love. And I've said this in previous seasons. And what she'll do, if she takes the floor, you know how we're entertainers when it's on? My mum is on when she's serving. So if you boys were coming, whatever, she'll have everything pre-ready, whatever, that'll be the first round. And then, but she just doesn't stop to the point where you're like, can you sit down? Because it's making me anxious, because you're like, we want you to enjoy this with us almost.
Yeah.
And if she does have a moment, a break to eat or whatever, she'll stay in the kitchen. Because it's almost like, I'm not worthy to be there. My mum's that person where like, if I go home and she's in the sofa, even if she's sleeping, when she hears the door, she'll wake up and she'll go straight to the kitchen. And then she'll come out to make it seem like she was doing something. And I used to laugh at her. And then I was like, oh my God, like, what is that? And then I hosted a reunion in my house not long ago, maybe about a month and a half ago, where I was hosting, and we had a friend visiting from the States. And so about 8 of us got around, we were watching TV, music videos. And so I wasn't even cooking properly. I baked some bread that was pre-made already from like an Italian store. And then I made like a cheese board with like meats and stuff. I literally became my mum. Don't ask me how I can be occupied for like 4 hours of serving people cheese, making sure that everything was, making the drinks, whatever. I didn't contribute to none of the conversations. One conversation because 2 of the girls came into the kitchen to give me some tea. We had like girl time. And I remember being there, doing everything and being so automatic. And it was so weird because the brat in me, which I'm working on, was like, you're your fucking mother.
Right.
And then there was this moment in me where I was like, fuck, I'm my mother.
Yeah.
And there was so much pride in that because the man of service I am, just in general, I just saw it in a
different way.
But I was experiencing it as I was realizing.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, this is freaking weird. And I remember John, our friend John, was like, can you please sit down? But I couldn't because his plate was empty. So it was time for me to serve him. And then I sat down and I was like, shit, how did that happen?
I'm my mother.
I'm my mother. What does the intimacy look like for you? Or first of all, actually, before we crack onto that, Dwayne, and you can answer that at the tail end of your first answer, but what do you think about what Trevor said? Do you resonate? Do you disagree? Do you think it was gay?
No. The reason why I said it was based on the part that he said,
I want to be held.
But he was talking about from other men.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I said it in that moment was because that's exactly what will resonate with men when they hear that.
Good save.
Right? No, it wasn't good save. No, because I've seen it. Yeah. Remember, so even though you're reading it, I'm listening to you reading it. I'm like, oh, I've seen this one.
Yeah.
I've actually shared that very same clip because it resonated with me so much, because that's exactly what I look for in intimacy. Like for me, like being held, for the men that would have agreed with me when I said that's gay, when you said it, for those of you that would agree, I did it on purpose to set up this point, is that Trevor's not talking, and Nora, you speaking about physically being held, even though a physical hold would be nice. It's actually about, again, the energy, like this, us talking, this is intimacy to me. This is when me and you go out for food, when we go out for food and we're talking and we're having intimate conversations about our life and our lives that we are past or are now where we're going. Sometimes we're having to hold each other in that conversation, not physically, just sometimes just you listening to me. When I'm speaking to you about, like right now, you guys are holding me in this moment because you're listening to what I'm saying. If I were to tell you something about, I don't know, like we've spoken about very intimate stuff, like, you know, cancer chasing me in one way, shape or form. Not that I've had it, but in another episode, maybe I think it was in
Check out season one.
And we were just talking about cancer and how I spoke about how cancer had just been chasing me via a lot of the women in my family. You guys were holding me during that conversation. We all went through a roller coaster ride of emotions.
Yeah.
So for me, being held isn't necessarily about the physical touch. Like intimacy doesn't mean that you have to touch me. Do you know what I mean? Although I like touch. Yeah. Yeah. Like if for example, we were talking about something and you came and was like, oh, D man, and you hugged me, I still love that. But in the moment, that's the physical intimacy that you're talking about. But in a moment where you can just listen to me, like you said, just to be seen. And I think men sometimes, like as soon as you say something like that, men just go, that's gay.
Oh yeah, because
they like,
it gets too real.
Yeah. Or if it's not gay, let's not even use it. I use it for effect. But even if it's just like, that don't make me a man, I don't need that. I don't need a man. And I use this tone and this way, this bravado for a reason, because most of us are like that. It's like, no, it's all right. A man's got himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're our own pillar. And it's like, yeah, of course we are, but not on our own, bruv. Someone still needs to help us, like build that back up. Someone needs to help us when we're falling. And for me, intimacy is like being seen, being allowed to be my true self, my true authentic self around somebody.
Right.
And whether you're physically there to hold me, just being there to see me and listen to me and breathe in exactly what I'm saying, that for me is intimacy. Do you know what I mean? being able to be my true authentic self around somebody. Just, I can be vulnerable. I can be up, I can be down, but no matter what, you still love me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That's intimacy to me.
What's intimacy to you, Kane? What does it equate to?
I think it's different with different people.
Really?
Like, yeah, like for me, like, so my little brother, Ethan, he isn't very good at communicating. He doesn't deal with emotion very well. He doesn't, you know, if we're sitting having a conversation, he's very happy to tap out of the conversation after 10, 15 minutes because he's like, yeah, like he doesn't do
done.
He doesn't do intimacy. He doesn't do, to me, it's too much. But like a text to him, like I have those late nights where I'm thinking stuff and I'll just text him like, I love you. And he responds, I love you back. And even though it's only a text,
That's huge.
That's huge. And that's such an intimate text from someone that I care so much about. And I know how hard it is
For him to say that.
to say that back. So from him, from our relationship, that is more value than 20 million people hugging me, touching me, kissing me, because it carries so much more weight.
Right.
And obviously with my life situation, obviously it carries deeper with losing my other brother. Whereas when he's with our dad, his dad, my stepdad, his relationship isn't that intimate. It's like awkward. It's like an awkward man-to-man thing.
Is it because of the hypermasculinity involved in it?
Yeah, and they're both socially a bit uncomfortable, and
Right.
they've both not had a dad who's going to give them a hug and say I love you, probably.
Right.
So that has
They both haven't had that
They
dad.
both
He's
haven't
not
had
the
that
dad
dad.
to
He's-
your brother,
because
and he didn't receive it from his
because
dad.
he didn't have that dad either.
cycle
And I
continues.
didn't have that dad either. I had my mum who managed to fill everything, and actually my stepdad, who's my brother's dad, did do that for me.
What?
But it's because I seeked it.
Ah.
So I forced it upon
Got-
my stepdad.
got
because
you.
That's my
Love language.
That's my love language.
And that's what you
my
needed at the time.
communication.
Yeah.
It's because my mum's like, we just hug. We love each other. We're family. So with my stepdad, I hug him and kiss him on the cheek now. I'm 33. And I can feel this be like, awkward.
But he's
and he
used
holds
to
me
that
back.
from you.
Whereas my brother and my dad, if you see him get a hug, everyone's like this.
What?
So it depends, right? Because like with Georgia, like just to hold me and love me, that means everything.
Right.
But then when I'm with my friends, my real friends, I can say how I feel. I can communicate. I can talk about my real life problems. I can go, yo, things are tough. And you go, are you okay? No, but are you okay? And it comes from a place of care and value. And that means more than a hug. It means more than something because there's actual value and substance behind the conversation as opposed to just words.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like in society, we say things because we know we're meant to say them. Hey, how are you? You don't mean it. You're saying it because we're conditioned to ask how you are. It's part of a structural conversation. When you go to school, you learn to write a letter. Hey, hope all is well.
I actually know exactly what you're talking about because I do more than that. Like when I ask, hey, when I see you and I'm like, hey, how are you? I mean, I genuinely am waiting for a response.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't.
Yeah,
because
but-
I'm just conditioned to that. And actually, I care about how you are, but I don't have the capacity to invest intimacy in this.
Yeah, but I'm a very intimate person.
But when
in that
it's
sense.
with my people that I need to do it with,
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that.
Makes
So I
complete
think
sense.
my version of intimacy is different depending
on the
who it's
relationship
coming
with the
from.
individuals.
Like George's, my fiance's father, my father-in-law, he's very emotional and physical. And every time I see him, he jumps out of his chair and gives me a hug.
Oh.
But it's not just a hug and a pat on the back, it's a squeeze. And it's I'm always like, oh, that's another father figure. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a nice feeling. It's a safe feeling. It's an intimacy. A different one to what it would be with Georgia or with a friend, but it's one that I didn't necessarily have from my actual dad. And it feels like, oh, it's a safe, someone's going to look after me feeling, even though I'm still a grown-ass man.
No, but you still crave that.
Because it's a bit of intimacy, which is different to other ways of sex.
Do you feel like he's the missing jigsaw puzzle that your dad can't do?
Yeah, one of them. Like he's taught me
He's a
how
part
to
of
use.
that.
He's George's dad has taught me how to use drill. He's taught me how to put photos up. He's taught me all the things that stereotypically a dad would teach you.
Right.
And he's fulfilled kind of that space in my life in the past 9 years. So those moments where he's teaching me that, they're intimate. That's intimacy. Because I'm like, wow, I never would have known how to put up a photo frame. I'd have had to do a degree on YouTube. You know, like and you Google it, but instead I have built a bond.
Google, sir.
Google.
So I think there's different forms of intimacy, depending who you're dealing with or communicating with.
Right.
Work, I see that. I think when you said that first, I was like, huh, but I get it.
Yeah, I saw you trying to work out the maths, boy.
Because it's something he would say.
Sorry.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like this energy that you keep giving me.
This season, it's the us in it.
This season, you lot are setting for me. I reckon you lot did this beforehand as well, but you're like, let's throw him off.
I did try and set it up at one point, but it didn't work. But
we're going to talk about that.
We all go there. Touchy subject.
Touchy subject, very touchy.
Google.
Okay.
what about you?
I've realized mine is quality time. I don't know why it echoes for ages. Just like like a dinner or...
I know what you meant by private though.
You know what I mean? Like intimate.
personal.
I mean like, we can never say private. He goes to Skokie, a private chef. No, I meant like...
No, you meant like...
It's weird because like, I identified with that really quick around 2 years ago, or as soon as I moved back to London.
Okay.
But that echo of happiness just keeps on happening. I'm just so happy because of my intimate moments. And I feel like when I become like a full-time host, my life is going to change. And I don't know if I'm going to be in London, but I know it's going to change. And so I know that I'm always at the short end of the stick when it comes to friendships. And so...
It's because you consider your friends real close. They're your chosen family.
Yeah.
We know, bro. Let it out, man. It's okay.
And so I treasure them because if I don't have them anymore, I understand that it wasn't meant to be, but that's
hard.
all I have.
Yeah. You're not going to lose your friends.
No, but I don't like change with friends.
I hear that.
I don't like it. I know it's necessary. Like if you have kids, so what?
Yeah.
When am I babysitting? When am I,
Right,
like,
yeah.
oh, we've moved to Canterbury. Okay, so when am I visiting? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But it does to them, you know what I mean? And that goes back to the whole thing, me not having a family and my friends being my family.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? They mean more to me than what I mean to them sometimes, you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things. And so I know that when I become, the Latina Oprah or whatever, the Latino 𝗣𝗿cie𝗴𝗿𝗀𝘀, I know there's just going to be less time and I'm going to have that life where, there is no time unless you are willing to like be on the fast pace or change stuff for me. Because you know how these, these, lack of a better word, these celebrities or these big people on TV, like they don't really have a life. And so like, that's the sacrifice. I can, but you know how it is when you start, you hustle until you earn your stripes and then you can say no to certain things.
But you're also doing the work.
Yeah, I am.
I'm not even talking about your career now, but you're doing the work to really, I would say, confirm those friendships. You're doing the work to where everybody in your life knows that.
Yeah.
They know it and respect it and will be there.
Yeah, I think I'm scared of the difference of it.
And I know you're scared of that,
yeah,
but I want you to also have some faith and trust in the fact that you've done the work, 𝗪𝗀. You've actually, your friends love you.
Yeah, and they'll show up for you.
They value you. And although your fear is that they may not see that when you don't do what you usually do, because you don't have the time to, that's not why they value you.
Right.
That's why you do what you do, because you love doing it and you think that's okay, this is why they love me. No, they love you because they love spending time with you.
No, and that's the same for me. You know,
do you know what I mean? But trust that.
Yeah.
Trust that we love you. Like we'll be there. Your friend, they will be there, guaranteed. Even if it is just for an hour.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that's what it is, and I think it's sad that my intimacy clutch or vice, whatever you want to call it, is accompanied by like a kind of like enjoy it whilst you can. Because I remember every single time something happened in my life or career, just before it happened, it felt like an emotional tsunami was about to hit me.
Right.
And I've had this feeling for a long time, but it's really far. And I've got a feeling because of the mindset that I'm going to take 2024, unless we get another pandemic or something stupid like,
Don't put it out there. Don't put it out there.
But if you know, you know. Conspiracy. you know, as long as no one cock blocks our destiny, you know what I mean? I know when that rush is, you know, you can't expect people to roll with you specifically, and I don't expect that, right? But I really enjoy the simplicity of my life right now because I've never been happier.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, everyone has, like, happiness is different no matter what scenario you're in, right? Like, we all know, like, when we spoke about, like, the suicide episode, the depression episode, some of the most famous, iconic people, we all like, oh, we want that life, but they're still not happy.
Right.
But isn't it weird how you're like, this is the happiest I've been, yet this is you know, you've reached the top of the peak of the one thing you wanted to do, and now you're climbing up the next peak, yet this is the happiest moment, not the peak that you've had.
Yes.
And it was like when I came back from LA and I was just sat in the kitchen in Stoke doing pantomime with 𝗣𝗍𝗴𝗏𝗀𝗀, who sat there and said to me, "You're right." And I was like, "I'm so happy. It's the happiest I've been in years." And he was like, "So that dream you think that's going to make you happy?
It's
you
not.
just told me this is the happiest you've been." And it was like wow, I'm in Stoke. Like I'm in Stoke doing panto. Like it actually changed what maybe happiness meant.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? And I think because, like you said, I mean, we all had these incredible mountaintop height, bird's eye view type of careers. And because now, as I'm climbing, I'm so happy, I now possess the harness power to always keep that. And that's why I always said, regardless of how high I go, wherever I go, my happiness will never be compromised. And I'm willing not to take a job for my happiness. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't realize how much you sacrifice while you're climbing just to make it. And now that you've made it, because I have, here, I don't need anything else. What I need is intimacy.
Yes.
And what I need is intimacy from all my circles and it being reciprocated and respected, you know, and honored, because I honestly think that's why I'm so happy, because of the love that I have, the attention, the consistency, the randomness sometimes, the simplicity, as I said. It's just great. And I'm so glad I came back to London because, I feel like LA, as incredible as it is for what it is, it's a vacuum. And I don't think it's because London is home for me. I honestly, I'm sure that's a factor, but I think it's because this is where my roots are being watered.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So boys, you know the drill.
Okay.
And I need you guys to contribute to this too, please. What is the messon or lesson, if you're not a male? We would love to know. We would love to join in the conversation. Maybe we get a different perspective.
Yeah.
Kane.
My messon is to try and learn my circle's meaning of intimacy and show it to them. To do it, to give them intimacy that they desire, not what I desire.
Nice.
Oh, actively making effort to figure out what their intimacy language is.
Nice.
That's really nice, Kane.
Mr. Nosworthy?
My messing is that happiness isn't about what I want, like, and prefer. Happiness is about what I need, and I need intimacy.
That's good. My messon would be enjoy intimacy without fear. Because I am loved.
You are.
You are. A lot.
You are. You are, bro. Let it go. Let it do. Let it do, baby. You're looking fun today, bro.
Oh
Why you crying like Queen Latifah,
why
bro?
am I so emotional? It's,
No, I like that, though.
It's the time of the month. I need to change my tampon. And on that note,
Okay.
keep it real without the spiel.
No.